Let me reveal a truth most people are too afraid to say out loud. No one is truly your friend. It sounds harsh, doesn't it? But it's real, especially when you're striving for something bigger, when you're building, struggling, trying to rise. In the early stages, they'll smile at you, nod, maybe even encourage your ideas. But just wait. The moment you start making progress, growing faster than they expected, doing better than they are, that's when it changes. Suddenly, the room goes quiet. The claps fade. Jealousy steps in. Doubt replaces support. Distance grows. I remember when I started. I had the same belief many of you do, that friends would stand by me, push me forward, hold the vision with me. Some did, for a while. But when the time came to sacrifice, to stand in the fire, most were gone. Why? Because they weren't invested in me. They were invested in what I could give. That's the raw truth. Friendship tends to dissolve when interests clash. It's easy to be close when there's nothing on the line. But when your success starts to threaten someone else's comfort, you suddenly become a problem. So what must you do? You stop expecting. You stop relying on approval. You stop depending on belief from others. You begin to believe in yourself. You build a team. You forge partnerships. But you keep your eyes wide open, because loyalty doesn't show when things are easy. It reveals itself when you fail, and even more so when you win. Many people think others will support their dream because they love them. Number people support what works. If your dream is making money, they'll come closer. If it fails, they'll vanish. That's not being negative. That's understanding how business works. And ironically, it's liberating, because when you stop waiting for friends to cheer you on, you start building without noise. You make smarter moves. You become sharp, clear, and focused. You don't become cold, you become precise. So next time you feel alone on your journey, remember, no one is your friend. And that's not your weakness. That's where your strength begins. Because winners are not built in applause. They're built in isolation, discipline, and clarity. And here's another reality most won't admit. Emotions can destroy what logic carefully builds. You can have all the passion in the world, but if you let emotions drive your business decisions, you're headed for failure. You might love someone. You might trust them. You might feel obligated. But if their performance is weak, if they're not delivering value, you're risking everything for the sake of feeling good. Business is not emotional. It is driven by value, performance, timing, and leverage. The moment you confuse that with how you feel, you begin to lose. You'll hire a friend who's not fit for the job. You'll keep an employee who's dragging the business down because they were there from day one. You'll avoid letting someone go simply because they're trying hard. But none of that pays your bills. None of that scales your company. You might say, but I care about people. That's fine. Care deeply, but don't let that blur your decision-making. The market doesn't reward kindness. It rewards value. Your competitors aren't slowing down because you're compassionate. They're looking for ways to beat you, daily. Many entrepreneurs don't see the damage of emotional decisions until it's too late. They call it loyalty. They call it integrity. But 6 months later, when the cash is gone or the deal falls through, they call it regret. Being emotional doesn't make you weak, but letting those emotions control your execution makes you vulnerable. When you lead with emotion, you react instead of plan. You hope instead of act. You trust when you should verify. You hold on to people, processes, and partnerships that no longer serve the mission. I knew a founder once who refused to fire his co-founder even when the entire company was suffering. Why? Because they were best friends. By the time he acted, investors had pulled out, timelines had slipped, and nearly everything collapsed. Not because the business was flawed, but because he confused friendship with accountability. The market didn't care. Customers didn't care. Only one thing mattered: execution, and it failed. This happens every day. People mistake intention for ability. They confuse desire with discipline. They choose comfort over truth. They avoid hard conversations under the illusion of kindness. But all they're really doing is delaying decisions that should have been made yesterday. Emotional leaders make poor choices, not out of malice, but out of attachment. And in the world of business, that confusion costs dearly. In negotiations, if you get angry, you lose power. If you get excited, you show your desperation. If you let emotions determine price, partnership terms, or timelines, you're handing the leverage to the other side. Business is a game of leverage, and emotions erode leverage faster than anything else. Ask yourself, do you want to be liked or do you want to win? Because often you can't have both. Being respected in business requires hard calls. You'll have to fire good people who aren't the right fit. Walk away from attractive deals that don't align with your vision. Let go of relationships that once meant everything to you. These decisions are painful, but they are necessary. That doesn't mean you lose your humanity. It means you gain discipline, emotional discipline. You must know when to feel and when to decide. Business rewards clarity. The sharper your mind, the stronger your choices. Emotion clouds judgment. It distorts perception. It makes you ignore red flags. It delays action. It keeps you chasing things you should walk away from. Most of us grew up believing friendships last forever. Loyalty, trust, support, those are beautiful values. But the moment money, control, or power enters the room, those values get tested. You will see friendships shake. Some will crack, some will break entirely. Not because people are evil, but because their interests have changed. And when interests change, people change with them. That's not bitterness. That's business. And when you accept that, you no longer operate in confusion. You operate with clarity, purpose, and power. You can grow up with someone, go broke with someone, even build from nothing with someone. But the moment your goals no longer align, conflict is inevitable. And no, it's not personal, it's structural. Because in business, the rules are different. It's not about how you feel, it's about position, outcome, and control. Most people miss this truth. Alignment is everything. You can be friends for a decade, but if one wants to scale fast and the other wants to play it safe, the partnership won't survive. If one wants to reinvest and the other wants to cash out, it's only a matter of time. That's when the cracks begin. One person starts making decisions without checking in. The other demands more credit, more money, more influence. The tone shifts, the energy fades, conversations turn colder. You begin to realize your paths have quietly split, not just in action, but in vision, in values, in drive. At first, you'll try to hold it together. You'll tell yourself, we've known each other forever. We'll fix it. But business doesn't care about history. Business only rewards performance and alignment. And if you're out of sync, the business will break. And if you force it to work just to protect the friendship, you lose twice. First the business, then the friendship. Here's the truth no one wants to say. When goals no longer match, people justify anything. The same person who once lifted you up will say, I deserve more, or you've changed, or I was the one doing all the work. Maybe they did change. Maybe you did. But that's not the issue. The issue is, once the interests drift, the relationship begins to rot. And it's not just co-founders. It happens with employees, partners, even old friends. Someone wants more money. Someone wants less responsibility. One wants a fast exit. The other wants to keep building. That's when you see it for what it really was. Not just friendship, but an arrangement. And when that arrangement stops serving them, they walk. Some don't walk. They stay in sabotage. They start withholding, whispering, slowing things down from the inside. And you sit there thinking, but I thought we were friends. You were, until your paths split. Friendship is easy when everything's equal. When there's no scoreboard, no pressure, no decisions to make. But once real choices show up, equity splits, leadership titles, exit terms, the truth steps forward. People show you who they are when their comfort is threatened. That's why seasoned entrepreneurs build differently. They protect the business first. They don't assume anything. They define roles clearly, even with friends. They get everything in writing. Because structure is what preserves relationships, not trust, not feelings. Clarity is the glue when loyalty breaks. You hear it all the time. Best friends turned enemies. Co-founders who haven't spoken in years. Legal battles over deals gone bad. These aren't rare. They're patterns. The cause? Misaligned interests. And no one spoke up early enough. Instead of adjusting, they avoided. And avoidance turns to resentment. Resentment becomes sabotage. And the friendship, no matter how strong, can't survive the fallout. This isn't about bitterness. It's the reality of the game. And the game doesn't pause to honor your past. When everything falls apart, and it will at some point, most people look for a savior. They call friends, blame the economy, wait for advice, help, rescue. But the truth is simple. No one is obligated to save you. No one is staying awake at night thinking about how to solve your problems. That's on you. You are your own safety net. The faster you accept that, the faster you get stronger. This isn't about being cold. It's about becoming unshakable. It's about building a mindset where your survival isn't tied to someone else's decision, where your rebound doesn't depend on someone stepping in. People will say, "I've got your back," and sometimes they mean it. But when things get tight, when money disappears, when risk increases, they'll choose themselves. That's not betrayal. That's human nature. So stop expecting someone to show up and fix it. Build the strength to stand alone. Learn skills, build resilience, get discipline. If your business crashes, learn how to rebuild. If a deal dies, find the next one. If someone leaves, keep moving. Don't wait for rescue. Don't wait for approval. Don't wait for anyone to feel sorry for you. People talk about plan A and plan B. But most people's plan B is hoping someone else saves them. That's not a plan. That's a fantasy. Your real plan B is you, your creativity, your clarity, your adaptability. That's what keeps you in the game. There will be moments when no one calls back, when investors vanish, when people who promise support suddenly go silent. And in those moments, the only thing you'll have is your mind and your will. What you know, how you think, how fast you recover. That's why you can't afford to be emotionally soft. You must be your own foundation before anyone else can stand beside you. And when people do show up, when they help, guide, support, you appreciate it, but you never depend on it. Because help is borrowed, encouragement fades. The only thing permanent in your life, the only force that will carry you through the collapse and back to the top, is you. People love to romanticize teams, partners, mentors, and yes, those matter. But if you make them your lifeline, you're gambling your future on things you can't control. Build yourself first, then bring others in. But never forget this. When the storm comes, and it will, the one person guaranteed to be there is you. A team only becomes powerful once you become powerful without them. A partner only adds value when you're not leaning on them to carry your weight. A mentor is only useful if you're already in motion, not if you're sitting still waiting to be told where to go. The world does not owe you support. It rewards those who support themselves first. You have to be your own motivator when no one sees your potential, your own strategist when everything falls apart, your own source of belief when all you hear is silence. Because no one, not a single person, can do the internal work for you. No one can strengthen your mind for you. No one can train you to bounce back faster. That responsibility is yours alone. But people waste years waiting for timing to be right, waiting for the perfect partner, waiting for someone to call with an answer. But life doesn't wait. Opportunities don't pause. People don't freeze while you figure it out. And if you're not ready to move forward on your own, you'll be left behind. One of the most costly mistakes people make in business is assuming trust comes for free. They believe that because someone smiles, agrees, shares a few goals, that person is trustworthy. But trust isn't built on smiles or shared dreams. It's built on actions, on consistent behavior under pressure. It's earned, not assumed. You don't trust someone because they say the right words. You trust them because they show up when it's hard, because they deliver when no one's watching, because when things go wrong, they don't flinch, they perform. In business, words mean nothing without results. Promises are cheap. Anyone can sound good in the first meeting. Anyone can be honest when there's nothing at risk. The real test begins when money's on the table, when pressure rises, when stakes are real. That's when you see who people are. And yet, time after time, people get burned because they trusted too soon. A co-founder talks big, then vanishes at execution. A new hire dazzles in interviews, then underdelivers. An investor says they're committed, then ghosts when the numbers dip. And the response is always the same. But I trusted them. That's the problem. You gave trust instead of letting it be earned. Trust is not a gift. It's not a favor. It's a currency. And it's expensive. You don't hand it out freely. You observe. You evaluate. You test. You let people show you who they are under stress. Then, and only then, do you offer more. Even with long-term relationships, trust must be re-earned. Just because someone was reliable last year doesn't mean they're reliable now. People change, motivations shift, and pressure reveals character. That's why experienced leaders never stop watching. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Blind trust isn't a strength. It's a weakness. It's a liability. It leads to bad decisions, broken deals, and lost time. People lose control of their companies, their direction, their leverage, because they trusted someone who hadn't earned it. You don't have to become cold, but you do have to become clear. Trust is not an emotion, it's an evaluation. And the same rule applies to you. If you want others to trust you, don't ask for it. Prove it. Be consistent. Show up early. Deliver every time. Own your mistakes. Handle conflict like a leader. That's how trust is built on both sides. Trust works like credit. No one gets a loan without a credit history. In business, your trust score is based on your record. It's not about what you say, it's about what you've done. Can you be relied on when things go wrong? Can people trust your silence as much as your promises? Too many people think trust is transferable. My friend trusts them, so I can too. That's how disasters happen. Just because someone comes with a recommendation doesn't mean they've earned your trust. You still need to run your own process. You still need to check for yourself. Anything less isn't leadership, it's gambling. Even inside trusted circles, trust must be earned, checked, and maintained. The moment you stop watching, standards start slipping. The best cultures aren't built on blind faith, they're built on accountability. When people know their work is being seen, measured, and held to a standard, they rise to meet it. When trust is built right, it's a force. It speeds up everything, removes doubt, builds loyalty. But if you shortcut the process, if you assume it from day one, you're not building trust. You're building a time bomb. And here's the truth that catches most people off guard. When you choose to chase something greater than comfort, when you commit to building, leading, transforming, loneliness follows. Not because you push people away, but because the higher you climb, the fewer people understand the weight you carry. Everyone says they want success, but no one warns you about the silence that comes with it, the long nights, the decisions you have to make without input, the visions you see that no one else around you understands. In the beginning, you're surrounded. Friends cheer you on. Family encourages you. Everyone nods along, but then you pick up speed. You start working while others are relaxing. You invest while they're spending. You grow while they stay still. And suddenly the gap between you and them isn't just mental, it's physical. Different priorities, different paces, different futures. It's not arrogance, it's evolution. Your path doesn't leave space for passengers. And few people talk about the emotional toll that path takes. The birthdays you miss, the weekends you skip, the relationships that slowly fade. Not because of conflict, but because you no longer fit into the same space. And then, in the silence, you realize something powerful. You were never meant to be carried. You were meant to stand, and the strength you've been building isn't for applause. It's for moments like this. So build your clarity, build your discipline, build your internal foundation before anything external shows up. Because the stronger you are without them, the more powerful you become with them. Not because you're superior, but because your direction has changed. You see clearly now what others still chase. You avoid what they still desire. And that difference, subtle at first, creates distance. The more you evolve, the more alone it feels. It's lonely when you can't share your struggle without being told to slow down. It's lonely when you can't speak of your success without hearing, "It was just luck." It's lonely when you've outgrown your circle, but haven't yet found the next one. That's where most people don't break from failure. They break from isolation. Because progress is a separator. The climb forces you into unfamiliar rooms. You're the least experienced, the least known, the least understood. Your past doesn't matter in these rooms. Your story doesn't move them. You speak your vision, and it's met with blank faces. You carry the weight of leading people who can't see what you see. And when they fall short, you're still the one expected to stand tall. Even when you're unsure, even when you have no map. This part, the silent part, has no applause, no spotlight, just pressure, self-doubt, quiet perseverance. And still you continue, not because the loneliness feels good, but because the mission matters more than the moment. Because to stop now would be to betray everything you've already endured. Most people quit, not because it's too difficult, but because it's too lonely. They crave the comfort of being understood, the ease of familiar surroundings, the safety of agreement. So they slow down, they shrink their dreams to fit the room. They call it wisdom, balance, peace. But deep down, they know. They gave up the climb. You will lose people as you rise. Some will walk away. Some you'll need to release. Some will simply disappear. And it will sting. But each level of growth requires a new version of you. And not everyone is meant to meet that version. Growth creates separation. It demands solitude. It forces you to confront parts of yourself that remain hidden in crowds. No one prepares you for the weight of being the visionary, of being the one who carries the burden, makes the trade-offs, and risks it all, while others spectate from comfort. There will be days when it all feels like too much, when doubt feels heavier than discipline, when quitting seems kinder than continuing alone. That's the nature of elevation. The higher you go, the thinner the air, the quieter the world becomes, the narrower the path beneath your feet. In the end, this journey to the top, to mastery, to legacy, is yours and yours alone. People will walk with you when it's convenient, but the moment your ambition disrupts their comfort, ego, or security, they'll step away. That doesn't make them bad, it makes them human.